Here we are again, about to make loads of probably enemies. We've got the last two B&J'S Sundaes ice creams here that I managed to track down. Really difficult to get these in the shops over in England for some reason, or difficult where we live. We've got the Hazel-nuttin but chocolate, as you can see there, can't line it up, which is described as chocolate hazelnut ice cream with brownie pieces, sea salt chocolatey swirls, topped with creamy whipped ice cream, chocolatey hazelnut swirls and chocolatey chunks. Chocolatey, chocolatey, chocolatey. And this one, which is berry revolutionary, as you see there, covered in ice. This one is their vegan offering for this range, raspberry with sandwich cookies and chocolatey cookie swirls with a soft whipped top, caramel swirls and chocolatey chunks. So let's start off. I wasn't a big fan of the other two. I'm not going to hold that against these. We're going to do an independent review based on today, not how I felt about the others. So let's dive right into this one. Put this one in the freezer until we're ready. So here we go. Let's dive into the vegan offering first. So as the others had the same, it's quite an attractive look when you open the tub. You got some swirls in there, you've got some chocolate chunks, or sorry, I should say chocolatey chunks. Those chocolatey chunks are very artificial tasting, but let's get some scooped up into the bowl and see what the whole thing's like. Before we dig any deeper, now if you remember on the last two tubs, half of it was the whipped top, which was really disappointing because they're just cutting corners and saving money. You were paying for air, essentially. That was extreme overrun ice cream. So you were paying for 200% overrun. Whereas in this one, the actual whipped top only goes down to there. So that's a really nice kind of amount in these tubs. The top was extremely soft, but the actual ice cream was solid as a rock. You get that with vegan ice creams. That's not unusual. You get it with a lot of store-bought ice creams, so you can't hold that against B&J'S for this vegan offering. Let's see what it tastes like. Okay, the ice cream is almond milk based. It says it on the top just there, as you can see. It is
3 days later.
It's actually almond paste rather than almond milk. So, you know, they've ground the almonds down, almonds, say it however you like. They've ground them down and then emulsified them into a liquid base, likely water. It's the number one ingredient of this. So likely water. The ice cream itself has a pretty good flavour. So, you know, it's raspberry flavoured ice cream. It does taste like raspberry. And actually the flavour lingers in your mouth, which is quite surprising because vegan ice cream is notoriously bad for that. It creates a flavour and then dissipates instantly. A lot of cheap ice creams do that as well. And actually you find that with pre-made or base-made ice creams out there, the flavour isn't particularly deep. So you'll take a mouthful of ice cream, the flavour will be there whilst you're eating it. Once you've swallowed it, the flavour's disappeared completely. When you make ice cream at home, because you can adjust the recipes and increase the fat content, that flavour lingers because the fat lingers in your mouth. So the lower fat ice creams, you get a very short flavour profile from it. But ultimately, this is surprisingly long. I can still taste the raspberry now. The caramel is quite nice. It just tastes like caramel, so that's fine. The chocolate is very powdery, very artificial. It doesn't taste like chocolate, it just tastes like, I don't know. So the chocolate is horrible. But the whipped top is melting pretty quick. Let's just try and get some of that on its own. The whipped top is different to the others, and that doesn't surprise me. There's no way to go through these ingredients and actually find out what they've made it with. But the actual whipped top on this tastes better than the first two that we tried. So, you know what? I'm quite impressed with this. I'm quite impressed with this. A, as a vegan offering, but B, it's much better than the first two dairy versions. If there is a downside to this one, that is the ice cream itself is lacking either fat and or solids because it's a little bit powdery. But you can kind of excuse that. If you just let it soften a little bit longer, then you'll probably get past that. But you know what? I'm quite impressed with that one. So compared to the other two, this one is head and shoulders above the first review video that we did. I'll put a link below just in case you want to see that and find out how much I really dislike those two flavours. But the Berry Revolutionary comes up so far #1 in the B&J'S Sundaes list. So with a pretty positive start, let's jump on to the final dairy offering, Hazel-nuttin but chocolate. So one thing I actually didn't mention about the vegan one was the cookie pieces, and it was loaded with cookie pieces, and you could taste them. It was a nice texture change. You had the chocolate pieces on top, which wasn't a fan of, but loads of cookie throughout. Good ice cream. Let's dive into Hazel-nuttin but chocolate. Again, nice tubs to look at when you open them up. Nice swirls, very familiar ampersand chocolate shapes that they use in everything. But a familiar tasting chocolate. It's the same kind of stuff that they use in all their bases. Let's get some scooped before I judge. Oh, and I will. Oh, here we go again, look. That is all whipped top. B&J'S. So, I mean, yeah, look, we're down to here. We're halfway down, and we haven't even got any ice cream. There we go, look. Ice cream, finally. It's really deep. I'm looking in the monitor to see whether you can actually see or not. It's really, really deep. It's half. So I wonder if this is what they do on all the dairy. Oh my god, it's hard. Okay. So, first things first, very disappointing that half of the tub, again, is the extreme overrun ice cream. Tasteless, probably 200% overrun. Money saving. Now, let's try some of the actual ice cream. What is it? This is chocolate hazelnut ice cream with brownie pieces and sea salt chocolatey swirls. So there's some brownie. So hopefully this is the same kind of brownie that is in chocolate fudge brownie. Make a mess. It does taste like it. Nice chewy brownie, that's quite nice. And just a bit of ice cream that came with that. Had a really strong taste of hazelnut. Not Nutella. actual hazelnut. So actually this ice cream, apart from it being really hard, it's been out the freezer for 10 minutes. It's still incredibly hard. I'd like to believe that that's an indication of low sugar or lower sugar content. Let's have a look. It is absolutely not. Really high in sugar. It has got a really nice, strong hazelnut flavour. Like I said, this isn't a Nutella. This isn't Nutella ice cream. This is hazelnut ice cream. Big difference. And actually, I approve that this is not Nutella ice cream because everything seems to. When I was a kid, everyone hated Nutella. Then in the last 15 years, it's just blown up everywhere and you can't go anywhere without seeing it or someone doing something with it. But in reality, hazelnut is a really nice flavour just on its own. So I'm pleasantly surprised to see that they've gone down this route. The sea salt chocolate swirl, I can only see it on the top of the ice cream layer. Yeah, that's okay. Not very salty, but personal taste and all that. I guess too much salt might put people off, but for me, if they're advertising a saltiness, you know, salted caramel, salted chocolate, I want that punch of the salt. I want it to come through. It doesn't really come through on this. But, you know, compared to the other ones, this is much better than the other two dairy ones. It's actually got some really decent flavour to it. I mean, the whipped stuff literally tastes like air. But if you combine it together, you've got something. The other two were just tasteless vats of nothing. The vegan one, is it still number one? I don't know. To be honest, I think this probably taste-wise is better than the raspberry. But 50% of that tub is this. It's just flavourless, overrun ice cream. If they change the dairy tubs to have the same amount of the top as the vegan one did, I think, me personally, I'd be much happier with that. But you know, I guess for me, expectations of these was quite high. Bit disappointed, as you know, in the last two. This one, I'm disappointed with that amount of overrun at the top, but the flavour of the ice cream is really good. The chocolate tastes good, the chocolate pieces taste good, the hazelnut flavour is really strong, pleasant and surprising, pleasantly so, that it's not Nutella. I don't like the top. It is what it is. You either like it or you don't. So, these two flavours have been much more successful than the other two. I would definitely say if you've got the option of all four, then go for the hazelnut one and the raspberry vegan option, and then go to the other two flavourless fats of doom at the end. But ultimately, I think B&J'S have created something unique at a time when everyone is trying to cut costs. Let's be honest about that. It's not just people at home that are struggling with rising costs of bills and everything else. Companies are struggling too, you know, and let's think of how much electricity B&J'S use to run their factories. You know, tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of pounds per year likely. So you've got to start putting some money saving in times like this. I totally get their choice to do this. There's another new flavour being released, I think tomorrow. It's Sunday, the 15th, tomorrow. I might even release it today, I don't know, I might have got the days wrong. So we'll look forward to seeing what that is. We might have to try and grab some if it's available in the UK, and if we can't grab some, we're gonna bloody well copy it. So hope you enjoyed this video. Much more positive one than the last one. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next week when we're doing another big Marvel video for all of you. It's totally made up and fictitious, but it's a really, really fun one, so stick around and we'll see you next time.